Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, and today's video, I want to go over a few things that I haven't quite yet had the chance to talk about and kind of get some more reactions and thoughts from you all, and that's about the changes to Alliance War. I also kind of want to talk about the new characters that are eventually going to be coming for patch 6.4. I'm pretty sure that's the number that we're on now. What's presumed to be the web-type characters and what their connection might be to Alliance War now that they're getting these changes. Talk about building for war more broadly, and I want to take a look at the rewards changes that are now in the game that we can see. So, if you're ready to go, then let's boil this down. So as my game is loading, because I didn't I didn't have enough time to get into the screen. So this is the Alliance War screen here, or what's coming up here. And so they did finally change a lot of people were talking about the raid season and war season rewards. And they did go and update this. I believe this was, what day are we? It was probably later on Monday where this was finally updated, or when I checked anyways, and it was there. And so I do want to kind of take a look through this. Now, I will confirm that because I got a payout on Sunday for 4 to 10%. That was 120 T4s, and I calculate my win-losses T4s at 30 per war, which is 90 a week, or 180 per season. And I can confirm and guarantee that you are getting the same amount of T4s that you would have been getting just now on the rank rewards. So now you do have to wait, unfortunately, 2 weeks for that lump sum payout, but it is the same, so you're not getting screwed on this, so that's good. Now, what they have added, of course, is SBCs and Teal ABCs. I want to know, you get Teal ABCs, like, no matter where you are. Or Teal BC, whatever you want to call them now. Augment Teal Catalyst. And you do get SBCs. So even if you're at, like, the worst alliance in the server or the game, you're still getting these. So that's good news. And it actually scales up pretty highly. Up to 1,200 if you're number 1. I don't know if the to be honest, we have so many of these. I honestly think this is pretty poor. Like 250 at the top, and actually it's 250 all the way up to 1 to 3%. You get a lot of these from various milestone events, so I don't know if this is a big deal. The SBCs are more of a deal, because as far as Orange Gear goes, I'm having a much greater crunch on SBCs and Orange Catalyst parts, particularly Focus and Health. But more broadly, Focus, Health, and Damage. I think those three are the most, because Resistance and Armor almost never get used to a large degree. So, it's nice improvement. It's, if I stay at 4 to 10%, I'm getting 350 every 2 weeks. That's 700 a month. It's not a lot, and actually that's like maybe, because some characters take as many as 1,500 SBCs to get to Gear Tier 15, so it's actually like half a character per month, which is not a lot. So it's better than nothing, but I don't know if that's saying a whole lot. And so we need to talk about whether or not the new changes to the rewards actually make it worth it now to try. Because the common wisdom, I think, for the majority of content creators have been basically saying don't bother with war. Don't bother building for war unless they happen to be useful in other areas of the game. But there's just no reason to build for it. And actually, Alliance War is even more of a time constraint than, than Crucible. You're spending more time in Alliance War for arguably less rewards than what you get out of Crucible. And Crucible is 6 teams that you have to beat. War, you have anywhere from 10 to, 14 attacks, right? And so it's kind of crazy. And so when you look at the actual win-loss rewards now, which involves blue 4 ions, you can see it here. On Platinum 2, you only get them from... You only get blue 4 ions from Platinum above, so Platinum 1 and higher. And for Platinum 1, it's 20k win, 12k loss. For me, it's 35k win, 21k loss. It's a pretty sizable increase as far as between the ranks. And then you go as high as, Diamond, and then you get 85k on a win and 51k on a loss, which is quite a bit. But as far as how this compares to making up for Victory Blueprint, because a lot of you guys know that is gone. So what is this? 35k. Let's say you win twice and lose once. So for me, that's like 90k a week. That's 360k a month. And Victory Blueprint gave well over 1 million blue 4 ions on their event. And that was once per month. I think you could get as far as like 1.2. I know it's not quite 2 full characters, because I think one character is like 770k ions. Like, that's how much you need. And I know that I was able to get about like 1.5. on Victory Blueprint. So like something like 1.1 million maybe. And so this does not make up for the lack of Blue 4 ions that we're not getting now from Victory Blueprint. So where is it going to come from? And I don't know, right? Are we going to get other events? Is it going to be included in Coordinated Assault in the ISO 8 Energy Milestone? Is that going to be added in? Where are the Blue 4s going to come from now that we don't have Victory Blueprint? And the question is more broadly, should we care? So combined to the level 4 ions that we're getting now and the SBCs and stuff that we're getting out of the rank awards, does this mean that we should care more about war now than before? And I think the answer is still no. I think that, you know, I'll take what I can get, and obviously it's more than what I got before, but I don't think it actually makes me want to build for War, Alliance War, any more than I already did, which was almost nothing. You know, I would build characters that were required for other game modes, which included Young Avengers, and to some extent Heroes Guardians, although I somewhat regret building this. I hate War defense teams, but at least for Young Avengers I got to play them a little bit better, and they seem way better than Heroes Guardians as far as their use in the Scourge event. Of course, we don't have Red Hulk yet. So, I don't like building for Alliance War. I still don't like building for Alliance War, and I don't think that these rewards really make me change my story. Now, I want to go to the blog post, first of all, and talk about the war changes, and talk about some of them. We're not going to talk about A-Force and the Mordo changes, which, by the way, I honestly don't think that people should be putting a lot of resources into your A-Force or Mordo at this stage anyways. It's great if you had already done that and they're going to be better, but if you haven't done it yet, I personally don't think that you need to or should do that. But I'm kind of curious about the changes to the rooms. So we had basically a nerf, or a half nerf to the rooms. So Medbay is going from 40% to 20%, Barracks to basically cut in half here from 20 to 10%. And so what's the design reason for this? Is that just because people are getting super frustrated with War defense and they just didn't engage? That's possible. I mean, I've seen like 1.2 million plus teams on my defense and I'm like, fuck it. You know, like sometimes I just don't do my attacks. And even when War and Crucible are running simultaneously, I prefer to do Crucible than spend time in War. So I'm not really surprised if that's what people do or what people think when they see these big defense teams and like, you know what? No, screw it. It's not worth my time, because that's probably true. Because Alliance War still isn't worth the time, I think. Despite the changes in rewards, I think overall, the time versus reward balance, you know, on a seesaw is just not where it still needs to be. And I think even with the changes, it's not still where I want it to be. The bridge, on the other hand, this changes now with having defense up and offense up instead of stealth and immunity. I will say that the bridge really screwed up Dark Hunters, because I remember using my Dark Hunters with Morbius, trying to chain my ultimate against Heroes for Hire in the bridge, and then like somebody in the middle gets stealth and it fucks up the whole thing. That and immunity kind of screws it up as well. So, you know, I'm kind of glad for this change, but I'm wondering how this is really going to impact War. I haven't had a new one yet myself, and so I haven't really... does it make a huge difference? Probably not. And again, there's these character updates, which I've already addressed, that I just... Great if you've already built them, and I have, like, Elsa built up a little bit, but overall, I just don't think it's a huge deal at this point. And so finally, before we end off, I want to bring up this. And this is the character silhouettes for next patch, patch 6.4. And they haven't told us yet exactly what these characters are going to be for. I don't think we're going to see until... I don't even know if we'll see it this Friday on blog post. It might be the week after. But what... you know, what are they going to be used for? Because I think every time there's a patch, you kind of have to ask yourself, why do I want to build them? What are they for? Is it worth it? Right? I think we can maybe assume this might be a team for the Death Scourge, because it's coming slightly before the Death team is coming out. But the broader question is, what game mode are they for? Is this going to be for Alliance War? Is it going to be for Crucible? But do we care? Do we want them? Do we need them? And you know, for me, if you've watched any of my recent videos, I've been talking about kind of the era of Apocalypse, right? And so for me, if it's not related to the Horseman teams, B would be raids, and C would be scourges, I guess, like nodes 5 and 10. I don't really care. And actually, that's why I low-key sort of regret putting resources into A-Force, because I never really ended up using them. I just used full-on Young Avengers. I think I don't even barely remember using them as a burner team. And so what value are we going to extract out of these new web characters? And that's the big question. If they're for Alliance War, even if they're a Scourge team, I think I'll probably pass on them. If they're somehow usable in raids, if there's some sort of a connection to Web Warriors, I have no idea. It's probably a separate team, but if there's as if they're potentially bio characters or skill characters, some are suggesting that Spider-Man Noir could be a skill character. I mean, if any of these are raid usable, I might consider that. But if they're not, and if they're just pigeonholed into War or Crucible, I'm probably not going to build them, and I'm going to use this patch as a potential skip. Because that's really the stage of the game we're at, and it's kind of sad. As a resource management game, which is really important in Marvel Strike Force, you know, we need to understand our limitations, what we can put our resources into, and I think there's a lot of traps. Personally, I think this is a potential bio trap with the fact that, you know, Gamma is right in front of us, and that's something that, well, is a little bit more important, I think, because of its relation to eventually Apocalypse, right? And so, I don't know. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below, especially as it pertains to War, but as it pertains to War characters. Now, we've talked about Gamma, because Gamma is, like, kind of front and center right now. Now, I don't like building war teams. I made that very clear. However, you know, Gamma is a requirement for Apocalypse, is a war team, so unfortunately I'm kind of forced into it. Normally, if this was not Apocalypse, there is a legendary, so there's that, so I probably would have engaged just like I engaged with Omega Red and Weapon X, but if there was no legendary involved, typical war teams are just a no-go for me. That's usually a no-fly zone for me. Heroes Guardians was a weird exception, and Young Avengers, just because of my association to the Young Avengers, and I like the team more broadly, or the name of the team if it was real. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm in a weird position right now with what comes to Alliance War. I don't think this is enough. I don't think it's enough to care. And maybe this would be different if you're in Platinum 4 or Diamond 1. But I think the average player is in, like, Platinum 1, Platinum 2. It used to be Gold 4 was the average, but honestly, I think that the average is more like Plat 1, Plat 2. My baby account as Alliance is in, like, Plat 2 as well, even though they're way worse than, and no shade to them, of course. It's just like my alliance is a much more veteran alliance, and yet we're both in the same war league. So I think that's kind of crazy, and the fact that a lot of alliances are in this range right now. So that being said, like, why do you need to care? War pushes you towards a 50% win-loss ratio, and for those who didn't know about that, that's true, yes. So the more you win, the more likely you're going to get mashed up against people who are going to obviously crush you. So over the course of a season, you're more likely to get a 50-50 win ratio. So you'll win a couple, and then you'll lose a couple, and then that's just how it goes. So how much do we need to care? Not really knowing that, because your investment into a war team is going to be very minuscule compared to something like Cosmic Crucible, where you can influence the outcome a lot better. In Alliance War, you're reliant on yourself and 23 other members in your alliance to do well in order to win, right? And so sometimes there's not much you can do yourself to influence it. So is it worth building for War knowing that? Probably not. In that case, it's probably more worth building Cosmic Crucible teams because it's a solo thing, and you can influence the way that the match goes a lot better than you can with Alliance War. Just my thoughts anyways. It's an old game mode, but I just don't know how much they have to do more. They would have to add more stuff to the War Store, I think, as well, which I didn't really get to touch on, and we're just going to cover that very quickly. Because the War Store, while it has some decent characters now, it might even have Echo upcoming, but it does have Scarlet Spider, and you can get some Tier 16 minis. There are no Tier 17 minis yet, and so I am semi-hoarding my War currency. We still don't have a Teal Gear War Orb, so that's a bit unfortunate as well. So as far as what you're getting for your War, outside of win-loss and rank rewards, it's a bit, for people up at the top, there's not a whole lot there. So yeah, I would love to know what your thoughts are on that as well. Is anyone else hoarding their currency a little bit just in case something else comes out in the near future? I have no doubts that Tier 17 minis will probably come out at some stage. It's more like, when is that going to happen? So that's the end of this video, and of course, until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see y'all later. Maybe we'll see Braun sometime soon. Boilon, signing out.